Hello and welcome to Running the Gauntlet. This is week 3 of the GCS League. We have with us today Acid Step as always,
Hello, hello.
and this week's guest is Geeky.
Yo, what's up?
Do you want to introduce yourself at all, Geeky?
Yeah, second season as a captain for the GCS League. I've been playing since season 1. Had some interesting results so far, but very much in love with this league and very grateful to be a part of the podcast today.
And we're very happy to have you. I am Promech, of course. This week had a lot of interesting matches. We had some bets going on, and I thought that overall the week was pretty interesting. There was a lot of sort of storylines going on, and so I'm excited to get into it with everybody. We're gonna go straight into game 1. We have the week 2 standings, not week 1. This is week 2. Sorry. B2F is on top. Then we have WWW. We have Zoom. Then we have TCOJ. Wait, is this correct? This is not correct. This is week 1 standing. No, this is week 2. Okay, sorry. Zoom is correct. TCOJ, GG, EBO, and then VVV and RIDM. This is week 1 standings, and then now let's go into the games. First game is RIDM versus EBO. Who wants to take game 1?
Yeah, I got it. Well, I think this may be the game that we don't have a VOD for. This is the only game I didn't actually watch. But I don't know if we really need to watch the game to know what happened here. It's a bit of a blunder giving Majin. Finally, Majin gets to play Tristana, and he does what he does. You know, plays like a psycho, goes in, kills everybody over and over. And Ryzel, when Ryzel has the ability to play around a lane that's winning that hard, it's just GG. It's so easy for him to play the game.
No, that's accurate. But so I was able to watch this game on the replay, and essentially this game was very interesting because EBO does what it tends to do. Early game, they're relatively fine. They just commit sort of these minor errors that keep the enemy sort of engaged. And at one point, if I'm not mistaken, the score ends up being like 12-12 or something like that, and they're pretty even. But then, like, Mordekaiser starts stealing Katarina and doing whatever he wants, and the game becomes virtually unplayable for EBO. Basically, anytime they try to do anything, they kind of run into, like, the Mordekaiser being really strong or the Tristana just being a little bit too far away. And so RIDM is able to sort of get rid of the threats in the middle of the team fight and then kill who's there and then finish off, like, the big threats together. So that's kind of how this game was playing out. And that's kind of what we see actually in the gold chart, where essentially EBO sticks around until about the 15-minute mark, and then the entire game flips and they can no longer do anything.
Yeah, just unfortunate I couldn't watch these games because of the whole patch update. So I'll have to just trust the story of the data and then rely on Geeky for his narrative.
Yeah, so this is the scoreboard for the game 1. Of course, as you said, Majin kind of popped off on the Tristana, and in that early game, I believe he got caught once and got away, and then died early. But then after that, he was kind of just doing whatever he wanted bot lane. He felt very, very comfortable, and RIDM did a good job of kind of having that Galio as a response ready for the Katarina.
Yeah, Galio is such a strong champ for them this game. If you look at the other team, there's not a whole lot of ways they can get to Tristana. Ryzel's just gonna ult Katarina every time. So there's one engage out. You got Maokai, who can ult or W onto Tristana, but Tristana just buffers with her W, and now you just kill the Maokai. Shin tries to E in, even E flash, and Majin he'll just jump away as Tristana. There's very hard to get on him this game. And the Galio standing in front of him, any mistakes that Majin makes, he steps up too far and gets caught. You know, the Galio's just gonna negate any of that. It's a good draft, a good pick in the Galio mid, and I don't see how. I don't think you give Majin Tristana, and then I don't see how you can get on this Tristana with the comp that EBO drafted.
That's a good point. The one thing I also wanted to mention, because I'm looking at it now and noticing it, the thing RIDM also did well is that every single one of them can interrupt Katarina ult, for example. So it's something where now Katarina pick, even though we saw him kind of be a terrorist when we saw him previously play Katarina, he's unable to do that here just because everybody, they cannot use enough CC and still have CC for Katarina.
Those are some beefy boys too.
Yeah. Alright, so moving on to game 2. This one, EBO comes ahead. Would you want to
just
take it over?
Barely. Can I make a prediction before you tell me?
Yeah, go ahead.
So here's my prediction: Sir Razio absolutely fucking dominated, but then late game got caught, and they were able to kind of like snowball win off of that. Is that what happened or no?
If only it was that simple.
Oh shit. Okay.
This game was hilarious to watch. This is one of the few that I almost watched the entire thing on 1x speed just because of how funny it was. I could go into details, but to not spend 30 minutes looking back at this game. Early game, Ryzel, yeah, he does his thing. He's on a scaling jungler and gets a double kill bot lane. It's a great way to slow down a scary Lucian Braum all-in engage. The Lucian Braum is scary early game. He shows up, he double kills them, he gives Corki and Thresh a little bit of breathing room, continues farming. Ryzel is probably one of the best farming junglers I've seen in GCS, and just feeding him a double kill early is so rough, especially on a Karthus. Every single champion at about the 9-minute mark, every single champion on the side of RIDM is ahead in gold, except for Tomtua. And Xenix is way ahead in gold. He's, just farming Tomtua as if he's a minion, building a lead. And instead of pushing his lead top, he leaves top lane, gets a pick on Ryzel, follows up, TPing to bot lane, getting a double kill. That's his second shutdown in the matter of a couple minutes. He goes back top. He's stabilized the game for his team. If it's still, still to this point, none of that matters because RIDM just continues to run the game. They're running the game. They're owning the map. They take all the objectives. They take, I think, 3 Barons in this game. There's not a big answer for EBO as far as the map pressure goes. I mean, as I said, what does RIDM stand for?
Run it down mid.
And I think they did that about 4 times, throwing their lead over and over and over. No matter how much map pressure they had, it was just a repeat ARAM in the mid lane where Xenix would go in, pick Ryzel with his ult, or oftentimes Corki as well. Just go in, find... Yeah, you can see right there in the gold graph, all those dips. Those are 1, 2, 3, 4... I forget if it was 4 or 5, but you can see how many times they run it down mid and just feed their lead away, and they can't get into the base. I think they took 1 inhib. They took 1 inhib and died every single time they tried to get anything more. There's a screenshot. I don't know if you can pull it up, Promec. There's a screenshot that I took at one point in the game where RIDM is so ridiculously far ahead, just completely owning the entire map. And it was hilarious to me knowing the result of the game, who would come out on top.
Yeah, man, this is kind of crazy because when you look at it, they have... just look at the minimap, right? They've taken... I guess they're taking mid towers half health, probably. And they've taken all of top. They took both first, and they haven't lost any of their first towers. And at this point, they have 2 dragons to 1.
Yeah, I mean, just 21-13 on the scoreboard. A 6k gold lead with Tomtua being down probably about 4k gold, if not more. It's insane that they would lose this. But, if you want to get into the details, it's 22 minutes at this point. This game goes on for a long time. And if you look at the mid lane champ on the other team for EBO, it's not a good idea to let this game go for as long as it did. 42 minutes. Yeah. 42 minutes. Acel became unstoppable, and they just, RIDM got to the point where they couldn't move in. Yeah, that's kind of the story of what happened here. Just repeat, run it down mid, can't engage, can't get past anybody. Acel scales, Acel wins the game for his team.
Yeah, and I think something to note is essentially RIDM doesn't have push power. Like Mundo is the push power for RIDM, and Mundo is 7k behind, right? So that's why we see, for example, Nefiri have to itemize that assassin push item, because essentially outside of that, like Corki can't walk up and attack towers because he's short range. Karthus is never doing it. Thresh is never doing it. Nefiri really is never doing it outside of using that item. So it becomes it makes sense to me why RDM kind of gets stalled out, because at the end of the game, like if you can't attack towers reliably, you're kind of at the other team's mercy. They kind of have to throw for you to do anything.
I give Xenix so much praise this game. He stabilized for his team in the mid game, stayed ahead, used his lead to keep everybody else in the game, and in the end had an insane 1v4 engage underneath the mid turret to defend and start the complete turnaround in this game.
Now let's look at game number 3.
This seems much more tidy. I don't know. Like this just seems like a super snowball with maybe one throw in there late game into a win.
Pretty much. This one was a little bit less of a comedy of errors. It was definitely bloody. There were a lot of fights happening, but by 12 minutes, Xenix had 4 kills, and it's just so hard. Xenix, somebody who has shown that he can use his lead to, influence the map. He does not let that. He's on Ornn as well. He's 4-0 on Ornn. Somebody who scales insanely well into the late game. It's even though it is Ornn and not necessarily a hyper carry like Mbessa, it matters when you have that big of a front line helping your team move forward, take space. It's hard to play the game. Although Ryzel almost managed to keep this game in RDM's favor, he ends up getting an unofficial penta over at Baron Pit. I think it was around the 21-minute mark. It's just it wasn't enough. Even Ryzel at his best couldn't keep things together. Every lane was losing. Vayne scaling again, another late game scaling champion, got pretty strong early. It's just hard to fight when every lane loses and they lose as hard as they did.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. And really, like, when you look at it, having the Vayne available, essentially, a champion who can self-peel is really tough. And if the Ornn is already, like, giga ahead, it's very, very difficult to just play out the fights. Because if you focus all your energy on killing the Vayne, by the time she's dead, the Ornn can probably kill you off. And then vice versa. But if you spend all this time trying to kill the Ornn, the Vayne is just free hitting. So it's a tough sort of problem to solve. And so it makes total sense for EBO to just be ahead in terms of the team comp. I am surprised that it kind of, looking at the gold, like it just kind of looks like if RIDM just had no answers. It was just kind of just EBO doing whatever. And then from the 20-minute mark to the 24 mark, apparently EBO was just trying to throw the game, but weren't unable to throw the game and just ended up winning it.
That might be where Ryzel got his quadra. I don't remember exactly what time that was. I didn't write that down. But I think that is right around when he got it. But it just was too little too late. He put the team on his back, but they let him down.
No, and it's tough, particularly when you're playing Diana into Briar, because while Diana is more impactful, Briar has a point-and-click CC. And so if your team is behind and you go in, you can kind of get locked down fairly reliably with a champion like Briar. All right, so with
and
that...
I just, before we move on, I just want to say that I feel like, with the permanent change to their mid laner, I feel like their team does look much stronger.
EBO?
Now every time I see, every time I see EBO, I want to say new BO.
Yeah. No, EBO is... I don't know if they would like new BO, but I think EBO has been very, very good in the last 2 weeks specifically. Hopefully they can keep themselves kind of on that upward trajectory. It'd be interesting to see if this week they're able to win. I think that'll kind of be the indicative to me as to whether EBO belongs in the top 4 teams or if they still remain in the bottom 4. With that said, we'll move on now to the second series, which is Zoom versus B2F. I will boldly say that B2F just does whatever they want against Zoom, but we'll see. Let's go to game 1. Do you want to take it, Geeky, or do you want to take it?
Yeah, I can.
Well, I guess before I'll just overall, they were like, it's hard to call it B2F versus Zoom because Zoom was using 3 subs this series, I believe.
So I think it was 1 off roll and then 2 subs, if I remember right.
Oh wow! So what you're saying is Zoom was ducking smoke, is what I'm hearing. Is that what's being said?
Zoom was, I'll give it to them. Even though they were playing with definitely not their normal roster, the people that came in, Catboy was playing support and Blue in the mid lane. Both of them, they did okay. They, for being on a team that they have no practice with or anything, they didn't look bad. It definitely affected the gameplay. You could definitely see it in Catboy. There were some miscues or miscommunications or just disconnected gameplay, but yeah, overall I think both the subs came in and did well.
So what I'm hearing is Zoom can't super blame their subs for this one. They stepped up and did their...
They cannot blame their subs.
Oh, so who wants to break down game 1?
I think I saw the first game on stream, and It definitely, looking at it first, like it looked really good for Zoom in the beginning, in the early game. I was actually surprised how well they were doing.
One important thing for this game, if you look at the champs picked, it's a lot of comfort. Boomy is a Grandmaster top laner.
Yeah.
Aatrox one trick almost. He plays other champs, but he's an Aatrox player. He's getting to play Aatrox. Alun is definitely known for his Kaisa, and there he is on Kaisa. Ellie is an Emilio main, and there's Ellie on her main. So I'm curious what the thought process was behind the bans that went out, and why so many of these people got to be on strong picks for their champion pool. Seems like a blunder to me.
What it looks like to me is, and I'm trying to read into the band. Is the Gwen first or is the Varus first?
Either way, if they banned Varus first, that's fine. If they ban Gwen first, that's fine as well. But why is it not Aatrox?
Well, so what I'm thinking is that it was probably a Gwen, Yunara, Nami first rotation of bans, and then they just ripped the Aatrox in first rotation. Whereas, like Zoom was probably expecting top lane not to go down there because then they banned the Aphelios Varus, right? So it feels like to me that Alun might have just said, "Oh, just pick me last," and given that sort of job to.
He does like
I agree with
he
that.
does like to get dropped. He has a big champ pool. It's hard to ban him out.
Yeah, so that's what I kind of think happened, and it's a good choice too because if they, what I assume happened is they probably picked either the Aurora and the Fury. They might have even picked the Aatrox. I'm not sure, but it has to be one of those three that they picked first. And then when they responded, it's actually Aatrox. I'm just gonna guess it was an Aatrox pick into the Jarvan Jinx, or maybe the Talia just to wait it with the Jarvan. No, it was Jarvan Jinx. This is me speculating. My speculation is that it was Aatrox into Jarvan Jinx. Then they picked the Nefiri to answer the Jarvan, and then they probably picked the Aurora like straight up there. They picked the Talia to cancel the Nefiri, and then that's kind of how this draft probably played out. But yeah, looking at it, because Nefiri, for example, is a champion that Leaf is also super comfortable with, and then I assume Aurora. If you remember, Aurora was like flavor of the month for like 4 months last year, and we know that Green was very active playing in at least GCS tournament, probably other ones. So I wouldn't be surprised if Green is pretty comfortable on Aurora as well, specifically. So it seems
I would say so, especially after this game.
Yeah, so it seems like B2F is just full comfort, and Zoom is coming in with a pretty standard team comp, I would say. But I feel the Braum is a little weird because I don't know what you're necessarily doing with the Braum. Just team comp wise, I like Bound to Feed a little bit stronger. I know that Alun also mentioned that Jim Isticus actually gave him a good fight down there.
He did. It was a good game all around. I mean, the whole time it was a fist fight. It looks like Alun ran everybody over, but he was doing his job, but he wasn't necessarily running them over. Bot lane looked stable, mid lane looked stable. The whole map looked good. The only scary part was Aatrox getting perma pressure top, absorbing ganks, living through them. There was a lot of pressure being pulled top by that Aatrox. Everything else was very stable.
All right, let's move on to game 2. This one looks a little bit different. It kind of looks like B2F got even more comfortable and kind of did whatever they wanted.
This one was rough for the Zoom bot lane. Ezreal, Alun Ezreal was very abusive pretty much from the beginning. They drew a lot of pressure. There was a gank that showed up pretty early on, but it didn't matter. Alun still went 1-for-1. Continued to pressure, continued to build a lead, take down that turret. It was a perfect example of why B2F is so hard to fight. A combination of a GM top laner and a GM ADC putting pressure on either side of the map with a very stable mid laner holding it down, collecting gold, staying strong. It's so hard to beat this team because of how much pressure they can put on either side of the map and how hard it is to find gaps in their armor. And that's just exactly what this game looked like. It looked like there was no foothold for Zoom to really grab onto and create a lead that could break the game open. And B2F just proved why they're the favorites.
And speaking of bot lane, like just Ezreal Nami versus Vayne Rao, like that's so heavily favored to Ezreal Nami already, just in terms of matchup. Like that's such an oppressive lane, that there's so much sustain and harass that it's hard to do anything into that.
All right, and then this is a scoreboard. champions like Ezreal in particular, I always think are just very, very strong, particularly for high skilled individuals, just because they have so many tools that they're able to just exploit in game that it makes it a lot harder for teams to just lock them down. We saw that when Gumby pulled the Ezreal mid, right? And so seeing the Ezreal here is not a big surprise that they ended up winning it out, specifically with someone like Loon who just has the hands to kind of pull something like this off. All right. So we'll move on now to game number 3, and this is TCOJ versus VVV. Geeky clearly does not want to talk about these games, but he lived them, so unfortunately that's just how it is. I want to go into game 1 and kind of get your experience from it. I thought it's a difficult game to watch. I actually watched this one and it seemed like not a great experience, but how do you
it was
feel?
Great. We had fun this game, yeah. The combination of Elias and Gumby for mid jungle is it's rough. It's rough to play against. We've scrimmed this team before, and now we've played them in the official match, and it is hard. Especially, it's a bad matchup for our team, which I'm sure many people just said out loud. Every team's a bad matchup for you, but we'll show you. Just wait. But this team in particular, Gumby is always able to find prio, and with this matchup here, Lissandra into Ahri, it was hard for Reapers to find a way to get prio on Gumby. Gumby puts on kill pressure on mid. He's pushing the waves. He's roaming. He's doing what Gumby does, and you combo that with Elias. He's probably my least favorite jungler to play against because of how much of a psycho this guy is. He's constantly pushing the limits in a very good way, especially with Gumby backing him up. He's able to move around the map, find the camps that are up on the, in my jungle, and take them without much repercussion. In fact, even killing me so many times in Scrim and the official. Yeah, the combo of Gumby and Elias is a terrifying combo and definitely something to watch.
No,
Other than that, there's not much to talk about. It was a stomp from every lane was behind. There was nowhere for us to really go on the map that was safe. We were unable to do anything this game.
No, I get it. And Gumby in particular, the Ahri Lissandra matchup in particular is Lissandra can win it, but it's essentially just if Ahri is good, it's just impossible to lane against. And someone like Gumby, the way he lanes is very terroristic because essentially he'll just if he for some reason he knows all these matchups when he can just walk up and auto attack you to death and when he can't do that. But thankfully, this is not the whole story of the series, right? I believe there's something that now happens going into game 2.
Something a little funny.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised that you guys were able to get this win. So what happened?
This looks wrong. Hold on. Is that really the damage chart?
That is the damage chart according to Luton. I will double check it real quick, but that is
that is crazy. I mean, I believe it, but that's crazy. If you look at the damage chart, it looks like we just lose this game. This game was kind of a little bit of a troll draft, you could say. I mean, you got Ezreal jungle, you got Jinx, Yumi, you've got one real champion. Well, 2 real champions. You got Ryze and Rumble, but with nothing for them to play with. And it's, I mean, I'm playing a Mumu. How hard is it to just go into all of these squishy champs and we kill them all? That's kind of the story of this game. It was a bit of a funny draft from the other team, and we didn't let them capitalize, we didn't let them taunt us and win, which is good. We were definitely a little scared to win the game at times. I could feel it in our movement around the map, in our clicks, in our comms. It was a good game to win, and I'm glad that we were able to get out of the way so that we know it sets us up to be able to not just expect to lose every game, which is kind of how it felt for a second there. And I'm very grateful for the troll draft to give us a little bit of hopium for the rest of the season.
No, and I think that's very important because you can always build momentum. You never know what's going to help you build momentum, and something like this definitely pushes you that direction. Wait, we just beat Gumby and Elias, right? This is the worst team that we could face, and we just won a game, right? Doesn't matter that he played Israel. Fucking Brittany picked the Vayne the other day, and it works, right?
He's played Vayne and
this
Varus,
could work, right? So it's not like they just completely they did something They
Do
played
you
in
think it was the case of like, oh, we could like, even if we play this, we could win, or do you think it's like, oh, I want to play Ezreal jungle, no, trust me, you gotta trust me, I could pop off,
Oh,
and then
for
it
sure.
just didn't pop off.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, that second option.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I
And it
think.
wasn't bad. It's the only reason it's bad here is because who is he going to play with? You've got Jinx needs frontline. Uh, the Rumble wants somebody to lock somebody else down. The Ezreal wants to kite. The Rise needs to kite. But there's nothing for them to kite around. We walk at them, we kill them, we win the game.
So I verified the damage. The damage is correct. Something to keep in mind, though, is that Mundo tanked 78 or 74k damage. So
Yeah, that'll do it.
essentially, a lot of like the damage chart is really like doing damage on Mundo. And if you look to the scoreboard, right, Brown Cena is 0, 6, and 1, right? And so a lot of his damage is really just doing damage to Mundo and then not getting any kills or anything in return. So the damage
Yep.
chart is just a little bit deceptive from that regard. But
And you can see I didn't go Leandri's or anything, so I was pretty tanky as well on the Amumu.
yeah,
Tanked a lot of damage.
yeah. So that's kind of what the damage chart story is. I thought this was a good win from you guys, specifically because I thought that as the game was starting, it looked like TCOJ was going to just be normal and sort of might win out the game. Because I think at one point the game is pretty even at like 9-9. I think you guys have early advantage and then they just kind of climb back a little bit.
Yeah, they definitely find picks. We overextend a few times. Like my 2 deaths are just overextending, engaging too deep and dying for it. It's definitely moments of throwing, which is again where I think we're almost afraid. We've played this game almost like we're afraid to lose. Like we thought, well, we should lose this game. Why aren't we losing? Should we wait? We can win.
And that's an important sort of identification to make, because even though you guys sort of started throwing the lead a little early, you still managed to close it out. So it gives you good hope that you guys can not only just win games, but that you guys can be winning, go back to even, and then still find ways to win the game. And against a good team. It's not like you guys were playing a team that wasn't performing well. Like, you guys played a good team that's on the come up. So this is really, really good. And so with this, let's move on to game number 3, which unfortunately goes back to, frankly, what we'd expect, but not how we would expect it. If I'm not mistaken, is this the big Luton game? Or was
This
that
is the
first
big
one?
game. This is the big Luton game.
Yeah, so
Luton popped off.
Luton comes out of retirement into this game and just like has the best game of his GCS career and decides to retire based off this game.
Yeah, finished on a high note.
Yeah, it's on TCOJ's side, they kind of, I wouldn't say they dominated early. They were definitely winning early, but it seemed pretty sort of close. And then at one point it didn't. At one point it started to look like, okay, well, I guess the TCOJ is a little better, and then it just continued to snowball. How did you feel inside the game?
I felt like I was watching a slow train coming at me, and I was stuck to the tracks. Elias, I should have called this. I knew it was happening, and I didn't say it because I thought, well, surely he won't. But he skipped to camp and gang spot and immediately sets us behind. And, we're playing Caitlyn Lux. Yeah. There's a lot of pressure on Jay and Pink to push forward, get an advantage, translate that advantage into a mid-game where we can win the game. And Elias shut us down. And I didn't answer in time. I didn't skip any camps. Elias goes, shuts us down early, and that was the story of the game. The repeat gank spot, tons of pressure, Gumby moving, bot. I mean, it was all about bot lane this game, and I didn't give them enough support to be able to succeed early, and it slipped out of our hands very quickly. It's to the point where there wasn't a whole lot we could do. The game should have ended probably 5 minutes sooner, but I think they were playing with their food a little bit.
I actually like your comp a lot. It's a really nice poke comp with the Xerath, Kate Lux, and then with some tanky frontliners. But you do need to kind of like hold that advantage for that to work. So it's unfortunate you guys kind of lost the early game there.
Yeah, we need a lead. We need to be able to not be we can't let them force a team fight on us. If their team fights very well, ours picks very well. And unfortunately, we just couldn't get picks because we were so far behind. They could death ball and run us over.
Let's be honest, man. Ron Cena would not have carried like Luton in this game. So they were just
No, he
very
would not.
lucky that Sushi Man did not show up.
And Bronzina did a fantastic job in top lane both games. I mean, I put a lot of pressure on him early in the second game, so he wasn't able to get any kind of lead. But the first game and this game, it was hard to deal with him.
No, I agree, and that's something that I find very interesting when we discuss this team, which is when Bronstein doesn't have these good ADC games. I'm like, but he's a good player. Like I know he's a good player. Like it's just in ADC for some reason he doesn't get it just necessarily just yet. But if like Ron Cena figures out like AD carry before before they get too far, like that team is just super scary. And finally, we go into the last set of games, which is GG versus Weak Side Warders.
Yes.
We last week had Hamea on the stream, right? And I believe both of them made predictions that would favor their own team. I think Hamea predicted a 2-0, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe Acid predicted like a 2-1. I think he gave some respect on one side. So, how did this play out, Acid? Go ahead.
So I just want to say, going to like this wasn't our greatest showing overall. Like based on an individual level, I feel like Bluegill like really played like shit this whole series. Like you'll see that in just a second. Or like a lot of us didn't play to our best. Despite that, the series was close, and I think we should have won this whole series. Game 1, it was just fucking awful. It was just like every like dumb little like it was just snowballed, and we just kind of just lost. I remember like bot side, like we had the early advantage, and then we kind of just walked up for no reason, died, and then we lost it. There was an early jungle fight that happened. Some bad calls were made, and we overextended, and then like it just snowballed off that. Top was losing the whole time. This was like everywhere lost, and it sucked. Yeah, like, game 1 was like not a good game, we just got crushed game 1.
Kind of interesting to see Zimmy get his Wukong.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna note.
Yeah.
Like that seems like a real big oversight. I don't know.
You don't give the Spinjitzu master his Wukong.
Spinjitzu.
No, that's fair. I thought the Shen could handle it, but
No.
yes, no, he played really well.
All right, so now let's see what happened in game 2. Big difference.
Game 2, yeah. Game 2, we did really well. Top kind of, didn't do so well, but once again, we were not expecting the Olaf top. They kind of put Varus. They had a Varus jungle that game, so we thought it was Varus top and Olaf jungle, and they kind of like switched that up on us. And they had like the Twisted Fate bot lane, which kind of was like that's what we think was going to happen, but we were 100% sure. We weren't 100% sure, but once again, like this is I think a longer game. I think how long was this? 40 something minute long game. And like I said, we had the advantage, but we weren't playing well, so like we kept getting caught and doing dumb shit. But this is really fun game. Like it was very dynamic. A bunch of things happened. The 6-foot was able to really capitalize on getting picks. Icarus with his Vel'Koz did like amazing this game. I had some awesome like Nico engages in there. Yeah, overall I think we pretty handily won this game. Syndra kind of Hamea did really well early game, but then he kind of just like didn't do anything late game, which was interesting. I thought it would be the opposite.
You thought you didn't carry
but yeah, not necessarily carry, but like I feel like Syndra was just not like early game was such a menace. The first 10 minutes we were so scared of the Syndra, got such an early lead. I think. And then like late game, he didn't do anything like at all. I don't know what happened. I don't know if their team communication was off, or like he just kept wasn't in the right position, kept getting caught off, or like was just too late to the fight to like should do anything. That Olaf was scary though into our team comp for sure though. Like, but yeah, I feel like the TF didn't do much. The Varus jungle was able to do much, and we were able to win.
Clearly, like 6-foot had a game of games as well. Not to be distracted, but 28 kills I think might be the most kills this season for sure. Like I can't think of another person who had that many kills this season.
Yeah, no, he was he did some crazy stuff that game for sure.
And against Ridley of all people, that's big for him. All right, now let's see what happened in game 3.
So game 3, like it looks like we were losing by a lot, but honest to God, it was just the top lane difference was so fucking astronomical. It was insane. Like early game, we were there was a bunch of like early fights that happened in the jungle. Gagny, what's his name? Gagny? I think his name is Gagny.
Yeah, the
Or-
AD
Yeah.
carry.
The AD carry tried to do a bunch of like sneaky stuff, but we kind of called that out, and we were able to get the early game advantage. And I feel like we were winning, in my opinion, pretty much the whole time, except for the top, which just got absolutely fucking dicked. Like, there's no other way to say it. Just like the top lane was just a problem. Despite that, though, like it was one of those late game fights where like, oh, like we just got Baron, we were pushing, and then we just had like a bunch of things go wrong at the same time, and we lost the team fight when we're at their inhibitor, and they were able to win off of that one team fight at the end, and we ended up losing. So this is a game that like I think we should have won.
I agree. After watching this game, there were a few moments where there was a fight at, I believe it was Third Dragon, where 6 foot goes in a little bit too deep and kind of baits Magdalena Bay in. And it was overextension. The whole team tried to follow and fight, but it was just disjointed and you guys got swept pretty easily. And then, yeah, that fight at Inhib, or, the Inhib turret, it was a winning position that turned ugly real fast. Another kind of gave me flashbacks to the Run It Down Mid series, where you get Baron, you have a lead, and then up it's thrown.
Yeah, so which is unfortunate because like if we were able to win this series, I feel like that would have been such a upset to most of the tier list that I've seen so far. But yeah, like overall, I don't think we played well, and it was a really close series that I think we could have won.
It definitely would have like upset the charts. I would have been unexpected. I think the problem with Weakside Warriors specifically is that they kind of have like home runs on every like role. Like in any given game, like Riddy can pop off and carry the game. In any given game, Hamea can do that. In any given game, I play off meta can do that. And apparently, Zimmy can do that too. And so
Yeah, no, they're actually Zimmy is much better than I thought he was. I got to give him real props.
Yeah, no, he's. I know I've played against Zimmy a couple of times, I think, and he's always been like solid. So it's like I know they're competent / good in every role, and it becomes very, very difficult when you play well everywhere else, and then just because they have like aces everywhere, you can't stop bleeding necessarily every time. But even that, like it seemed like you guys were kind of there. I saw a little bit of this game, and it kind of looked. I thought you guys were gonna win, so I stopped watching. This is kind of what I did, and then turned out you didn't. But I thought you guys were kind of in the prime position to turn around, because specifically the group of champions that you have between the Nautilus, Lysandra, and the Misfortune, I think make it so that even if Weakside Warriors can get on you, it kind of becomes very, very difficult to not take 1,000,000 damage before they're able to get there. And with that, we've covered all the games for this week. These are the updated Week 3 standings. So we have B2F with 9 points, WWW with 7. TCOJ has gone from, I believe they were last place, to now third. This is a very unexpected climb, and I only say that because, as far as I know, Gumby has never had a better team at this point in the season. Usually Gumby's teams are just kind of like running it down, and it's just Gumby doing whatever he wants. But I do have to give him props in the sense that he's been playing a lot of normal stuff this season, which is different than what he usually does in previous seasons. Previous seasons, he kind of spends most of the time cooking. Then we have Zoom, then we have GGG, EBO, and VVV and RIDM. So from here, we go to the power rankings that we had for week 2. I just want this so that people have a reference of how we looked at the teams sort of before this week's standings. And then, and again, it's B2F, WWW, Zoom, TCOJ, GGG, RIDM, EBO, and VVV. That's just kind of how the standings play out. Now, this week, we're going to do something a little different, and instead of making a power ranking, we're going to do tier lists. Tier list allows us the flexibility of being able to group teams together that we think, hey, these two teams might, like, one team might be better on paper, but I think these two teams are kind of the same. And any given day, they could either one could win. It gives us a little bit of that flexibility, which I think is interesting, especially 3 weeks in, because now we've seen a pretty good amount of the teams. So let's start off with asset steps. Would you like to explain your tier list?
Yeah, so I stand by the Weak Side Warriors and Bounty Feed are the top tier teams to beat in this draft league. I'm curious to see how TCOJ versus Zoom or versus GG goes, but I still think that even if you go backwards real fast, back to the previous slide, right? Like B2F, WW, Zoom, GG. I feel like TCOJ. Like I pretty much I didn't do this intentionally because I wasn't looking at this when I made this, but I feel like I stand by kind of what my original analysis was, where I think us and Zoom could beat the top tier teams. I don't think TCOJ could, and that's why I put him down in the B tier. I was very close to put him down into A tier and just not have a B tier whatsoever. But now, that's kind of why I put TCOJ kind of a one rank below, because I don't think they could ever beat B2F or Weak Side Warriors. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree with that.
I'm not sure. I think depending on what happens this coming week, we'll have a good understanding of what TCOJ is. Because while I think that they're a very strong team, I think they should be able to beat any team. I'm just not convinced necessarily.
Yeah, but that's essentially why I put them a tier list down. Then we have VVV and Nubio in a tier below that, because I think TCOJ could beat those teams pretty consistently. And then I don't know, I just lost all hope for running down mid. Like I'm looking at it and I feel like the only player that I'm really scared of on their team is Sir Raziel.
Yeah, Raziel is kind of their one big carry.
Yeah, and I don't think that's enough. To be fair, their support player is really good, but like it's not. I don't know. I don't see him translate that to a win. Maybe if he played like a very heavy carry champion like Pyke or something like that, you know. But that's why I now have run down mid at the lowest tier list. Okay. That's my 2 cents.
Let's move on to Geeky's tier list. Geeky, would you like to explain your tier list?
Yeah, mine is definitely subject to change, mainly because of that C tier. But I'll start from the top. S tier, I think Bound to Feed are clear and away the best. Their ability to control both side lanes in the early game and either completely stomp a lane or generate slow leads that build into a strong mid game where Alun isn't going to misplay it, and it's hard to beat them. There's, like I said before, it's hard to find a foothold to get a lead and to open up the game to beat them. It's very difficult. TCOJ, I think between them and Weak Side Warriors, they're both very strong. I think they both could take down Bound to Feed I don't see it happening in a final situation, but Elias and Gumby can definitely create a lead through mid jungle that would be enough to snowball the game out of control. They've done that against us. I've seen them do it against others. They'll do it all season long, and it's very hard to play against. Weak Side Warriors have strong, like we've said, strong players across the board that can hold their own and create leads individually. Riddy being on that team surrounded by laners that can hold their own is just a very difficult opponent to take down. Zoom and GG I've got side by side, and I've seen a lot of similarities between these two teams where there's no Riddy or Gumby or Loon on these teams, but they both are solid and work together well, create leads, translate them into victories. But I also see some weaknesses, and they're just not on a level where they can take a game and completely snowball it out of control like the teams above them. EBO and my team, Veni Vidi Vici, I think we both have something to prove. I think we're both able to do that. We can step up the game. I talked a lot of trash on my own team, a lot of despair, a lot of negative energy that we are feeling, but that's also because we've played against, in my opinion, the 3 strongest teams in the tournament. We've played against 6 Masters Plus players in our first 3 matches, and have 2 in the rest of our matches. So I think you'll see a big turnaround going forward as far as the scoreboard goes. And EBO, I think they've got some talent, they've got some skill, they've shown that they're stable in lanes, but I'm not convinced that they have as much upside as my team, or definitely none of the teams above us on the tier list. And Run It Down Mid is doing what they do best. They're running it down mid. I think Ryzel is insane, terrifying. I'm scared to match up against him, but the rest of our lanes, or the rest of their lanes, are suspect. And it seems like they can't close out games, which is probably the most important thing of League of Legends.
I agree. So going to my tier list, it's very similar to Gigi's. I think with the only distinction being that I think EBO belongs in the Zoom GG category. Now, that's going to be controversial, but let me explain. Bounty, don't need to say anything. OP team. I don't know how that team got through. I think someone needs to investigate them for collusion or something, because that team is crazy. With that said, I think Weak Site Warders is the second best team, but I think Weak Site Warders could lose any given day to TCOJ. I think those two teams are well matched, because even though Weak Site Warriors on paper has better lanes overall, I think the impact that mid lane jungle synergy creates on the side of TCOJ is better than Riddy Hamea. And so if that is better, I think there's always that risk of, hey, if Riddy Hamea can't beat Gumby and Ilias, right, then how do we proceed from that point? Because essentially those are two of the very strong ports for Weak Side Warders. After that, we have Zoomers, which frankly is there out of respect, because I think Zoomers is a better team than they were this week, but obviously this week it wasn't really Zoomers. So I'm keeping them B for now. They could slide down. It is possible. But then I have GG and EBO. Now, Team GG, all I hear every week is Acid talking about potential. At some point, we need to see results. They stay B because I think that team on paper is very strong, and I think they're a team that should be top 4. That's how I feel about GG when you look at what the team is. They just haven't. I feel they haven't played up to that just yet, and so that becomes kind of the big question for GG. And EBO is on the opposite side, where I think that team is terrible on paper, but they've been getting results. They've been getting better. They've been winning. They've been sort of climbing their way up. And so I wanted to recognize that, because I think that of the bottom 3 teams, which EBO is one of the 3 bottom teams for sure, it's the one that currently seems to have momentum to go up. Now, something that needs to be noted as well is I think EBO is going to have a very rough schedule coming up, where I wouldn't expect them to stay there at all. I would expect them actually to drop. But I still think this week coming in with who their matchup is going to be, that there is actually potential there for an upset. Now, VVV, Geeky, I'm sorry, but y'all have been struggling pretty bad. But I thought that with the win you guys had this week, that there is potential there for something similar to what happened to EBO. Unlike EBO, you guys have actually played very, very strong teams, i.e. you played the 2 best teams to start out, and now you played what I think is the 3rd best team. So theoretically, right, you guys should have lost all these games. And so I have some inkling of hope that, hey, the next game's coming up, you should be able to actually win. There are realistic chances. You just had a bad luck of the draw, is what I feel VVV has gone through. RADM is the exact opposite. I feel like they've had a pretty easy schedule. I think a schedule that they could easily kind of prove things, right? Starting with Zoomers, who I think RADM should have been fine against Zoomers, but they weren't. Then they go into TCOJ. TCOJ, I think, is just a better team, so that's just bad luck. But then losing to EBO kind of puts them in a position where it's kind of hey, at some point you have to do something. At some point it can't just be, you have Ryzel in the jungle. This team is good. So that's kind of where IDM is. And frankly, I expect the Tom Tua to have learned his lesson at this point where, hey, you kind of have to understand where your limitations are and kind of play a little bit safer to then in the mid game become relevant. And unfortunately, that hasn't been the case. So that's my tier list. Any questions or any notes that anyone wants to make about anyone's tier list?
I'm just excited to show VVV is excited to not play against the top 3 teams. We know, we're a work in progress. We've got our low elo player, Pink, is off role. He's an ADC. I kind of got screwed in the draft a couple times. I'm very happy to have Pink. He's been so much fun, but it's hard. He's in a hard spot right now to have to be off role, learning enchanters, especially something he's not familiar with. And I'm excited to see how we scale up and get stronger. It's good to see us on C tier here, so we can be an A tier later.
Yeah, no, I hope you guys can do it because honestly, I think when you look really at the match history, you guys have just had bad luck, so it's very hard to gauge because you're never beating a Loon, and Weak Side Warders is another like kind of problem. And you guys played those games, if I'm not mistaken, back to back, right? So it's not like
Yeah,
you even have time
yeah.
from
One
week
day,
1 to week 2.
Sunday, and then Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a hard turn match, and then now you are 3 weeks in, right, with practice, or not necessarily practice, but with time on your side, and you actually like took a game off TCOJ, right? So there is like progress there. So who knows what could happen as moving forward? So I definitely hope that keeps going. Any thoughts on your side, Acid Step?
In terms of us playing this weekend, or
I was gonna go into that
Let's
right now.
get right into
So,
it.
my ruse has been exposed, but I asked Geeky to be here because I thought it'd be interesting to see another week where essentially GG's opponent is on running the Gauntlet and they get to talk to each other about who they think will win their matchup.
yeah. So I mean, the only bad thing about this weekend is that we're not gonna have Magdalena Bay.
Again?
He's one of our. No, he was here last time.
Yeah, but he was like on vacation. For Florida,
That's right. Yeah. Yes, yeah. That's right. He was on vacation for Florida. I think he's going to some like land event or something like that. And we couldn't move the games, or we couldn't reschedule the games, so we're gonna have to have a sub. I'm sad to see him not play this weekend, but I'm still excited for this game. Like you said, we also played B2F and WWW back to back. And the Bounty Feed game was, I don't know if you guys remember that, but that was just like a shit show with the whole anyway, the disconnecting and like the forfeit. It was awful. But yeah, I'm excited. We'll see what happens. I predict that we're gonna win 2-0, but I only one way to find out, right?
What about you?
Yeah. I think you guys will win 2-0. I don't think you need to practice. Don't worry about it.
Already playing with the mind game.
I have no idea who's gonna sub for us, but I'm gonna figure that out as soon as possible.
Yeah, we've improved a lot this week. I'm excited. Worked with Pink on different support champs. We're gonna continue to get better and better. This week will really be a good sounding board for where we're at and how we'll finish the rest of the season. I think it's a must win for Veni Vidi Vici. I think if we struggle here and go 0-2, it's gonna be rough. So there's a fire lit under our ass, and we're ready to not continue to be a bottom feeder team.
No, I agree. I think it is definitely have to win for VVV. I think even in terms of standings, like if you don't win, like it becomes very, very difficult to get into playoffs at all. Even though EBO could lose, so there's still hope there. But you guys definitely need to get on the board so you can start making that comeback to get to that top 6. On GGG's side, it's actually very similar because, for example, if you guys were to 2-0 GG this weekend, you guys would jump up to 4 points, and you would have the tiebreaker against GG. GG is currently at 4 points. So it is kind of, must win for both teams. And I think it'll be a good barometer to kind of determine, hey, which of these, is GGG a top 4 team or not? I think that's kind of what's in stake right now. Whereas VVV is more like, hey, this is the worst we could possibly be, right? We can only go up. So I think there's more pressure on GGG, so it'll be interesting to see how Acid and his team kind of feel when the actual, when the games get tight and you're actually, flipping Baron. Are we going to be able to get that smite or not? And that'll be interesting to see. The second game is VVV or WWW versus Zoom. I think that's also going to be a very interesting game. I think Weak Side Warriors should 2-0 it, but I think this is the kind of game where Zoom has the opportunity to flip their narrative as well. I think they actually have a good chance of winning because I think when you look at their bot lane, even though I play off meta is like very, very good, I do have some hope that Jim Thickest specifically will be able to figure out ways to not necessarily nullify him, but to make him less impactful than a lot of the other supports. Because I think for a player like I play off meta specifically, the counter there is really your support being able to poke him, being able to kind of get control of him, because your AD carry is just never going to be able to, just because of the type of champions that he picks. So that's how I see that.
I see this series as a statement series for both teams. It's important for both of them to, like you said, for the narrative. If WWW wins 2-0, they've solidified themselves as a top team. Zoom has a lot to prove. If they can take the victory and prove that they're not not a team that should be doubted, then that'll be huge for them going forward. I do think it is favored for WWW. I see it most likely being a 2-1 in their favor.
What about you, Acid?
Great. No, I agree. I would like to see a 2-1. I'll just say that.
For WWW or for Zoom?
I think WWW is going to take it, but I think Zoom is going to put up a strong fight. Yeah.
Okay. Then we have B2F against Run It Down Mid. I think Run It Down Mid is going to... No, of course not. I think B2F wins this. But I think there is a chance for it to be 2-1, because I think there is a chance that Alun sees the matchup and says, hey, I want to play something funny. And if he does that, and Leaf does that, which I think Leaf is very capable of doing, I want to play something funny, I think RIDM has a chance. But outside of that sort of universe, I think B2F should win it. So I'm just going to predict the 2-1 because I think that universe is likely, but there's no hope at all for RIDM. I don't expect any chance for that to be competitive.
I expect Rizel to have a 5 KDA in a 2 or in an 0-2, where it's just impossible to find a place. Okay, think about it like this: we got Boomy, Grandmaster top laner, the highest elo top laner in the tournament, versus the legendary Tom Tua. I think I don't think Rizel can carry that.
I've seen Tom Tua do well in those circumstances before, though. He hasn't been done it recently, but I've seen it once.
His pinch is good. His pinch is good. It is scary. He's a little bit of a menace on it, but you're not gonna get the drop on Boomy.
What about you, Acid? What's your prediction here?
I mean, is it even worth saying anything here? Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's not. You know what? I have imagined playing like that guy. Like, just play violin when the Titanic is sinking. Essentially, it's like, you can play your heart out, but you're still gonna sink.
Rizel really did get the Gumby treatment this season.
Yeah. I'm sure Gumby is very happy about it, because the seasons he's had, he's happy to finally be in a relevant team. Speaking about Gumby, that is our game 4, right? EBO versus TCOJ. This is interesting because TCOJ should win, is what my prediction is. But this is a game where I could see EBO kind of surprising them, because I think that EBO's newest mid laner, right, is like very good. I think #man is he's a surprisingly strong player, and I think he'll do a good job of kind of matching Gumby's mid lane volatility. Now in the jungle, obviously, Ilias is a big problem, and Taco isn't particularly good at the jungle, but I think there's enough there for EBO to kind of play around and then maybe get something going.
Is this the double or nothing? Because I do owe you a mystery skin.
So this is the temptation, right? So
right.
When I was looking at the predictions, right, I think Weak Side Warriors versus Zoom or EBO versus TCOJ are both bets where I'd be willing to do. I think if I had to do double or nothing, I would bet on Zoom beating Weak Side Warriors more than EBO versus TCOJ. So if you want double or nothing, we can make that bet.
Sure. I'm down for that.
So I take Zoom. So Zoom, you better win. Like this is the only chance you have, Zoom, to make something important happen in this league. So yeah, EBO. Sorry, to get back to that prediction, TCOJ 2-1, and I think EBO. If EBO comes out winning, it wouldn't be surprising to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think TCOJ is gonna 2-0 EBO, unless they have fun, like kind of like what happened in the VVV game where they just didn't have any front line.
But they do that. This is my point.
Yeah, I struggle to see a world other than, like we've said, where they troll a draft. I struggle to see a world where EBO can take a game. It's gonna be a rough matchup for them. They're gonna get run over by Elias. Sweaty Taco is their low elo player, and he has been their jungler, and it's gonna be a hard time. Elias is a pro at finding ways to make your life hell, and Gumby is a big fan of backing him up and getting prio to enable Elias to do that.
I agree, but I think Hangman can hang around with Gumby, and I think Xenix can hang around with Sushi Man. And if it's Bronzina versus Xenix top lane for whatever reason, I think Xenix wins that. So I think there is like some world where this becomes very surprising. Sweaty Taco probably gonna get run over. There's just I don't see another world there, but I don't necessarily think that'll be the story of the game. That's just maybe wishful thinking, but that's kind of how I see the matchup going. With that, I think we reached the end of our running the gauntlet. Anything that either of you would like to say before we close off?
I'm super excited for our matchup this weekend. That's
Yep.
all. I'm curious to see what we'll get for our sub, but I think regardless, it's gonna be a fun game. I don't think it's gonna be like 100% like one-sided.
No, it's gonna be a good series. I'm excited to play it.
I want to put a PSA out there that I'm expecting. So Riot added something to the game, which is the last hit indicator, and it's available for custom game. Please don't use that shit in the tournament. It shouldn't work in tournament codes. That's what I've been told. But
Oh, interesting. I did not know that.
yeah, that's what the speculation is. No one has confirmed that. I tweeted out to Riot, but now I got my account banned on Twitter for some reason that I don't want to disclose. But essentially, there's no confirmation one way or the other. Just don't be that dude, because it'd be really weird if all of a sudden Tom Kench or Tom Tua, who struggles to CS sometimes, all of a sudden is now doing 7 CS a game. I'm just saying, we're gonna investigate it. Don't be that guy.
We've got the analytics. We'll know.
Yeah, we'll know if we see spikes in CS per like we're PED testing. All right, immediately PED testing. We're gonna look at the settings and see if it's on. Anyway, that's our show. Again, my name is Promec, here with Asset Step and Geeky. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.